Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to the Tell Your Story podcast, where we will be having survivors and allies of sexual assault come and share their stories, talk about why it's important to bring awareness to sexual assault, and ways that we could help implement change within our own communities, organizations, any place where we believe to make big change. So today I'd like to introduce a very special guest. I'd like to introduce my mom, Jasmine Dees. I will be happy to introduce her, have her share who she is, what she does, and have you guys get to know her today. Welcome, Jasmine Dees, my mom. Hey, mom. Oh, sorry. Oh, there you go.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing, mom?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Very happy to have you on the podcast and be able to be a guest on the second episode and share your story. With that, just introduce yourself to the people watching, and what you do, what have you been involved with, and yeah, stuff like that.
Awesome. Well, like you said, I'm Jasmine Dees. I am a native of Toledo, Ohio, and I am the owner and founder of Jay's Catering, which is my own catering business that I created in honor of my mom. And I've been working that for, I want to say, a little over 10 years. I also I'm the founder of Anointed Angels Missions Ministries, which has been in existence for quite some time, and it's all about women empowerment, family empowerment, and just empowering the individual overall, just to rise to be the best version of themselves. So that is something that I've been doing for years, and I'm just glad to be a part of the show today to share just a small part of my story.
Awesome. Yeah, my mom is pretty awesome. She has definitely inspired me on my own journey of, being sort of an entrepreneur and also wanting to bring change to my own community. With that said, share just share like why you're a guest on this show, and a story that you would like to share, or why you want to bring awareness, or anything that allow more people to know a little bit more about who you are, and what you're trying to do in this type of stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. So when I saw Quanzel start this podcast and just the mission behind it, I was so proud of him. I'm all about bringing awareness to certain situations and certain things that rise within different communities, different home lives. And um, sexual assault, of course, is near and dear to my heart. It's a part of my story. I have a few stories of enduring molestation and rape and different things like that. But I think the story that I want to share for the young people today, because we can get so caught up in, the fast life, the party and the hanging out and things like that. And when I first got really into the scene of hanging out and partying at a young age, when you're that age, you just want to meet new friends. You don't really know people sometimes that long. You just start gathering
Mm,
a group of people and you go out and you hang out and you have some drinks and you're dancing and you're having a great time. And you expect, the people around you to protect you, to
mm,
look out for you, to be there, if something was to take place. And you never expect the people that you go out with or hang out with would try to destroy you or hurt you.
mm,
So I had a situation where I was out with all these people and we were hanging out. And
mm,
at that time, that was early on when the date rape drug was really coming out, and that was
mm,
starting to really go through a lot of the clubs, nightclubs, and the bars and things like that. So I had
mm,
ended up having a drink, and somebody had laced my drink with something. And so I remember feeling very discombobulated, feeling
mm,
very off. Like something was going on. I
Mhm.
remember being at the bar that at that night, and then I
Mhm.
remember waking up the next day,
Mhm.
dropped off on the corner of my mom's street, and I was just laying on the ground.
Oh my God.
And I remember waking up and I'm like, oh my God. I felt weird. I felt like something happened to me. I
Mhm.
didn't know what was going on. So immediately, I went in the house. My mom, of course, was devastated because I never came home last night. She thought I was dead. She thought something happened to me. And of course,
Mhm.
she was highly upset. And I said, Mom, I think something happened to me. I don't know. So she ended up calling my brother to take me to the hospital to get a rape kit done.
Mhm.
And I got that done, and of course, I felt shamed. I felt guilty. I felt, dirty. I felt like, God, I don't even know what really happened to me and things
Mhm.
of that nature. And so I had to live with that for quite some time. So
Mhm.
as I'm getting older and I have my kids, and, I started to take on this very overprotective um, demeanor because all the things that I had to endure or that I endured at a young age
Mhm.
caused me to, overprotect my children because I didn't want nobody to hurt them. I didn't want nobody to do nothing to them. So I was
Mhm.
just very overprotective in how I handled things. So as I got older, I put this particular situation on the back burner of my mind. I'm thinking it'll never come up again. I don't know who did it. They
Mhm.
never reached back out to me about my rape kit, none of that. So fast forward to 2019.
Mhm.
Um, I was at home. I didn't have to work, and I was at home, and I got a knock on the door, and it was a detective, and he was like, "Are you Jasmine?" And I said, "Yes, I'm Jasmine." And he was like, "Well, we finally tested. We had a whole room full of rape kits inside
Mhm.
the police station, and we finally tested them all after all these years.
Oh
I mean, it
wow.
took them years to test them. So finally, he comes to my door after about 20 years saying, we know who raped you. Would you like to know?" And he had this folder. And so I'm sitting there in shock, and I'm like, I don't think I want to know
Mhm.
now because I felt like I didn't want to open up that part of my life. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? You know how you spend so much time, trying to heal from something or cover something up or close
Mhm.
a chapter of your life that wasn't really a good chapter and you try to forget about it. So
Mhm.
that's what I tried to do. And so after all these years, this detective coming and saying, we finally tested all of these rape kits and, we have the person. Would you like to know? Would you like to press charges? And all I could think of is like, oh my God, all these years later, if I press charges, will me and my family's life be at stake? Would people
Mhm.
try to come after us, for doing this? Like, what if this person has a whole family now and all this? So I got scared, I got worried, I got nervous.
Mhm.
And I said, no, I don't want to know who did it. And I said, I don't want to know anything. I said, I just want you to go. I said,
Mhm.
because this happened 20 years ago and you guys are just now testing kits. I said,
Mhm.
that shows a brokenness in the system that justice doesn't get served properly when it comes to these type of things. So
Mhm.
after that happened, I found myself feeling very discouraged, feeling like I made the wrong decision by not finding out. But I kept beating myself up. I kept saying, man, maybe I should have, maybe I shouldn't. So I was wrestling,
Mhm.
do I want to dig this part of my life back up? Or do I want to open this up? Do I want to go through this whole court process after 20 years of it being buried? You
Mhm.
know, do I really want to partake in this again? And I beat myself up. I wrestled with it, but then I was like, you know what? I feel like in that moment, I did the right thing for me because I
Mhm.
didn't want to dig that up. But now that I look back at it, I'm like, okay, maybe I should have. Maybe I should have fought harder, but
Mhm.
now it's like I'm at a place in my life where I definitely want to bring awareness to it and bring openness to it about those type of situations because sometimes you feel so dirty or you feel so insecure that those things happen that
Mhm.
you don't want to bring them up to talk about them. But when you talk about your story, it unlocks the next person to be able to share their story. And that's
Mhm.
why it's called testimony. So I believe, now as me sharing, that's a part
Mhm.
of my story. That's a part of something. And I think what I can give back to other people is um understanding how important it is to have a safe place to share these type of things.
Mhm.
Understanding how we need to fix the system. We
Mhm.
need to fix the system that is so broken on trying to help other people become free, to be able to share those type of things, because some people are so scared, or they feel like they're going to be judged, or they feel like, nobody will really understand, or nobody can really relate. And, you start beating yourself up like you're worthless, even though what happened to you was unfair, even though that what happened to you wasn't your fault.
Mhm.
It was the person who did the act that had the issue. It wasn't you. But
Mhm.
sometimes we take it on as our own, like, maybe if I hadn't did this, maybe if I hadn't did that. Regardless, it's wrong on the other person's side who did it. They have an issue, they have a sickness, they have a
Mhm.
problem. So
Mhm.
I think I just want to mainly kind of just share from that perspective, of how important it is to be accountable when you're going out, when you're going to hang out with friends, when you're going to do different things. Make sure you know your people, make sure people cover you and have your back, and just make sure if you're out doing those type of things, you have I want to say, a solid support system that
Mhm.
when they see something off, they're there and they can pinpoint it, and they protect you and they look out for
Mhm.
you, so you don't have to go through those things alone. So
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing is just being open and being honest and sharing, and um being truthful about your experiences. And I think that is something with this situation that I went through, that I held on to so much guilt,
Mhm.
that I should have told on him. But then 20 years later, you feel like, where could that person have been in their life? And would I want to be the one to dig that up to, ruin it after it happened so many years ago? You know what I'm saying? So, but now, as watching what you're doing and watching how you're bringing openness and awareness to this topic, it's making me understand how important it is for us to speak up and to fight back when it comes to these type of injustices
Mhm.
that happen to children, women, men, boys
Mhm.
all over the world.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And I know, I mean, I know, like with this particular issue, it's complicated on so many different fascists, like different facets of like where you look at it too. Because I know with us, um, um, well, you can, mom, if you're trying to type it into the private chat. You can, believe type into like the message on here as well. I think.
Oh,
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I think you just have to click it and then just click on the YouTube symbol, um, or just type into the comment section here. But if it doesn't work, then I can try and figure that out as we're going. But okay, for sure. But with that, yeah, no, it's definitely important to try and bring more awareness and but understanding too, like there's a lot of different like complications to it, especially over the fact like it is systemic, but it's also the fact too like putting a lot of people in wrong positions that allow a lot of these things to still occur in the sense that they're using their like power of standing in like up in like positions to do like bad things with it, or turning someone a blind eye or not being as like is like executed on the job as much as they should, to the point where like people shouldn't feel the ramifications like years down the road, and I mean it's again like not trying to rely on one person but understanding like how you can help in the way that where everyone can help, and it's like, takes like a village, takes like a community to help make those changes. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So with that, what would you say then would be the biggest like issues systemically? Like, is it like the backlog of a lot of these cases? Is it people still not believing, or just like the sort of like tone deafness of like how pervasive this issue is, or where do you see like the issues when it comes to like bringing more awareness to this and seeing like those changes still not being implemented in the way that we want them to, but still trying to push for that, especially for like the younger generation.
I think more or less it's a lack of, I feel like now people have just are so afraid of, is you got half of the world that speaks up, half of the world that's still afraid. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like when it comes to certain things, especially um when it comes to, rape, molestation, stuff like that, I feel like what's wrong with the system is they probably are overwhelmed. Some precincts or things like that are overwhelmed with everything and the crime and the heightened level of
Mm-hmm.
racial discrimination and racial injustice and all these different things that are happening. That
Mm-hmm.
stuff like this happens, I think a lot of stuff gets swept under the rug because you have so much racism, you have so many other things you have, and then you also have a group of
Mm-hmm.
people that have cried wolf. You have people that have lied,
Yeah.
and just wanted to have a story, and have
Yeah.
lied about being raped and lied about being molested and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the documents come out, they find the person wasn't guilty. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
about all the people that's sitting in jail now that now the DNA has, taken such a greater turn in how they can figure out things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like now it's like so many people are coming clean. They're finding out that some of these people that done did 20 and 30 years in prison didn't even do some of the crimes.
Mm-hmm.
DNA didn't even match. So I think it's just a lot of brokenness within the system that needs to be changed. And the only way we can change that is to get involved in those type of jobs and positions,
Mm-hmm.
where we can bring about change. Um, I think with the younger generation, you guys have such an advantage with technology and with things that are at your, you know, fingertips
Disposal.
that
Yeah.
you can literally partake in like so much quicker than we could, when we were growing up. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like um if people really want to bring about change in this area, they would get involved in their community. They would get involved in the organizations within their communities that offer these type of resources, and they will come together and, like you said, like build teams. And it takes a village. It takes a whole
Mm-hmm.
entire community to come together to bring about this type of change. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen with one person. It's going to take a group of us, to come
Mm-hmm.
together to really bring awareness not only to this topic,
Mm-hmm.
which a lot of people bring awareness to it, but it's like almost like people bring awareness to it and then they leave it there and it kind of dies off. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to stay on top of it, keeping it at the forefront of people's mind and the
Mm-hmm.
forefront of their lives. So as you're talking about it, they're like thinking of ways to implement solutions. Because
Mm-hmm.
that's the bottom line. We don't just want to keep doing a whole bunch of talking with
Mm-hmm.
no solutions. We want to come together at the end of the day to figure out what we can do to make this
Mm-hmm.
better for all people that have suffered or all survivors that are still afraid to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it is definitely one of those like times where it's like, I like don't speak before you think, like if you're going to speak about it, actually do the work or try the work. Which is
Yeah.
why I do my best or try to like not speak before myself and be like, if I'm going to say or think this thing, then what I'm going to do is be down in the dirt, work on that issue and be like, okay, this is why I think it works because I actually went through and did like a lot of the work, did a lot of the research and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
being able to be like, this is how we can do it and how we can easily scale this up.
Yeah.
And as you said, we are at a different point in time where like we have a lot at our disposal and at our fingertips that we can like do literally anything. But it also doesn't also shouldn't take like one person. Definitely should take like like you said, like you said, like a village, a community and stuff.
Yeah.
So with that, like, what do you think are like good, like great solutions? Then is it creating more like shelters for like survivors, creating more organization to help with like the education of what sexual assault is, the legal
We
representation
definitely
and stuff.
need more advocates. We definitely need more advocates in this field. Also, we need more funding. Let's see, Jules said you guys are so right about doing the work alongside speaking. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think people sometimes don't know where to start. Yeah. So I feel like when it comes to um just being an advocate for those type of things, and then you have a lot of like shelters and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think I think the shelters are trying to meet basic needs that
Mm-hmm.
they don't think about, hey, we need to go ahead and incorporate curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
We need to go ahead and incorporate. So I think if more shelters would incorporate different levels of curriculum and different advocates that come in and speak and walk
Mm-hmm.
and do life, because the key to anybody becoming free and having a solution in something is actually doing life with them and walking alongside them
Mm-hmm.
until that process is figured out. So
Mm-hmm.
bringing a solution to these shelters and to these organizations, I think organizations need to be more equipped and more well-rounded in a lot of things versus, okay, yeah, we know we want to meet their basic needs of giving them a place to stay and giving them food, but we also
Mm-hmm.
need to figure out a long-term plan, short-term plan, these different plans on how we can execute to get them the healing, get them the support that they need for whatever they may be suffering. A lot of times, if look up the statistics, like a lot of people that have been raped or
Mm-hmm.
molested, go through so many different changes when it comes to staying on the job or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
housing or, being in and out of the streets and doing different things that they shouldn't do because it's just hard for them to cope. You know what I'm saying? So we need coping mechanism. We need people in position in all places, like we
Mm-hmm.
have to get stuff in order in different places in order for us to see that type of change. But if
Mm-hmm.
these organizations are only focusing on one thing and they're not trying to look at the bigger picture, like, well, yeah, we need to do this, 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 and this, but we
Mm-hmm.
see this person is struggling with this, so we need to offer some type of program, just like they do with the alcoholic or a drug
Mm-hmm.
addict with the 12-step program. We need some type of 12-step program for survivors of, you know, domestic abuse and racial injustice. That's a form of trauma and abuse. And, the sexual assault and the rape and molestation, like we need some type of process and program that they can walk through that's not, because everybody doesn't believe in God. Everybody doesn't go to church. Everybody is not going to go
Mm-hmm.
to church to pray or for healing or
Mm-hmm.
deliverance or any of that. So we need to match that clinical with the spiritual. So we need
Mm-hmm.
that clinical side of it, just like people would go to a therapist or a mental health
Mm-hmm.
worker, and some of them are only equipped to walk you through certain things, but we
Mm-hmm.
need to have it really broken down to a place where people are getting the help that they need and they feel the support that they need. Because
Mm-hmm.
once you feel supported, it's easy for you to open up. Once you feel
Mm-hmm.
safe, it's easy for you to open up. But if one of those
Mm-hmm.
things are off, it's going to be hard for a person to open up to even receive help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And, that's why, again, I created, this podcast and want to use this platform to create, like, this space. Because I realized this too, especially just, wanting to try and make changes for my own community here at Eastern Michigan. Especially, like, going through, like, and seeing, like, a lot of, like, the controversy and seeing how things have been.
Mhm.
Just seeing how it is important to really have that safe space for a lot of people to share. Because a lot of times too, when they share something about this, they're also afraid of losing their jobs too. Like they're afraid of like it like affecting their reputation and stuff like that, and
Right.
worry to the point where like, oh, if I share, this could detrimentally affect my life to the point where I don't know if I could, possibly recover from it, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And again, this is me just observing what I've like seeing,
Yeah.
and understanding, or trying my best to understand, so that way I can, like, better help and better, be the best ally I can, especially bringing more awareness to an issue such as this. Because I know this is very important to a lot of people,
Right.
especially, like you, mom, and some of my friends, even like the president of like the alumni board I'm on too, and how important this is, and seeing how this, like, this is like just something that shit that needs to be a continual thing that does not stop with us. Being like, okay, we are the last great generation. We did it. We finally solved it. And it's like, no, no. It's like a constant, like, generational, like, making sure, like, when you leave, you want to leave it better for, like, the next generation, just
Yeah.
so that way they can have it a little bit better than what we had.
Yeah.
You know. And with that, where do you want, I guess, the changes to start, and like what particular industry or what particular section, or just really just where, like, the application can start, whether it's someone starting within their own communities, or anything like that. What are the best possible steps people can take in order to feel or wanting to find more safe spaces, or even creating safe spaces, or finding the resources, or really trying to see what they can do to better help, and also have the courage to want to help too.
Well, first, I think what you're doing is amazing, is an amazing step in that direction of giving people a platform where they can have a voice, because this, even though it's a live platform, is still a safe place because it's still between you and the individual that you have on the show, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is a step, this is a huge step in the right direction to make people comfortable to share their story and to bring awareness to something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, definitely in, the judicial side of everything, and just I feel like the detectives and the police officers that work these type of cases, I feel like they need to have strategic people that only work these particular things. That way, stuff doesn't get backed up 20 years to where they're just now testing,
Mm-hmm.
rape 20 years later. Um, definitely, that's something that needs change. That's something that needs addressed, and that's something that needs attention brought to, so people can understand, like, hey, we need, if you feel like you can't um do this particular thing, put somebody in position that's passionate about it that will work those things properly.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people are overwhelmed trying to take on too many hats, and then once you have all these hats, you're giving bits and pieces of yourself to a whole bunch of different things instead of
Mm-hmm.
focusing in on putting your all into one thing so you can see that thing fully flourish. I know I've
Mm-hmm.
been guilty of that myself, so I think that's another solution, getting people positioned in the right place,
Mm-hmm.
people that really are passionate about stuff like this. Um, Not just people that's doing it just for a job or just for money. I
Mm-hmm.
never forget what Oprah said years ago. She said, whatever you're passionate about is something that you can do for free and never get paid. And that ultimately, at the end of the day, is what's going to pay you. So
Mm-hmm.
it made so much sense, and it was so profound, because if I'm not passionate about something, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
only going and I'm only doing it just to get by or just to shoot the breeze, I will never fulfill my
Mm-hmm.
purpose. You know what I'm saying? So it has
Mm-hmm.
to be something I'm passionate about. So I think finding the right people that are passionate about the same causes as you, that's another
Mm-hmm.
thing that empowers you, because you start building a team.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you start building that team, because you guys are like-minded and you guys have the same mission at hand, then
Mm-hmm.
boom, you got people that are coming together to do the work, you know um so I really think what you're doing and opening up this platform like this is going to build that up for you, to where when you get to a place where you're doing your 5Ks and you're doing, all these different things, or these
Mm-hmm.
marches, or you might be doing these speaking engagements, um you'll have a team behind you that supports you. You'll have a team that believes in what you're doing, and you'll have
Mm-hmm.
a team that will be come alongside you and do the footwork as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like every community needs that established,
Mhm.
when it comes to stuff like this with sex trafficking, with rape,
Mhm.
molestation, those different things. Like we
Yeah.
need to really understand how important it is and understand how often it happens. I think
Mhm.
some people think gun violence and all that is way worse, but I think if they really understood how many kids are in their homes now getting molested and how many kids on college campuses all over the country are getting date raped, drugged, and
Mhm.
raped and molested and things like that by different teachers and professors. And I mean, it's so much that goes on in the whole world pertaining to this particular topic. So I feel
Mhm.
like as you broaden out through this podcast, I feel like you're going to get a lot of people and you're going to find out about a lot of other organizations that are actually doing the same thing that
Mhm.
you became passionate
Yeah.
about. And then that's how you partner up and you work together.
Yeah. Definitely. And I mean, like, I know I definitely if I can and would love to be able to do this podcast, like I would definitely love to do that. But I know like eventually doing this, I know I need to eventually like you know have something when it comes to that. Where, this podcast can probably upgrade and be a little bit better, a little bit a little bit more professional and all that stuff too. And also when I bring people on, be able to also pay them for their time too. Just like
Yeah,
at the end of the day, I also want to make sure like I want them to do this not just cause but also understanding too that um understanding that like with the people behind me and stuff, I want to make sure that they're properly compensated for the value they bring to me too, and that I can bring to them. And really just again wanting this to be so. Speaking of
yeah,
that, we have a Patreon page. So if you go on Patreon and search up the Tell Your Story podcast, you can pay a monthly fee of $4 a month. That's just a way for us to be able to make this a little bit better, get like more cool things, and also potentially have some merch to help create some form of income, and also trying to see if we can use that extra form of income to like give back to like organizations bringing awareness to this. So again, go to
this is awesome.
Patreon. Yeah, and also too, if you want to see the full unedited videos of these podcasts too, that's where they will be as well on Patreon too. So after this live stream, I'll probably edit this and then probably do a re-upload either tomorrow or Sunday. So be on the lookout for that. But yep. But you know, coming back to the podcast with that little bit sponsored. Sponsor that. But yeah, no, it's definitely is important to definitely bring awareness and definitely have a team behind you that's just as passionate too. With that said, what are you doing, or where are you seeing yourself being able to be a catalyst to change yourself within your own communities or bringing more awareness to the issues, such as this and stuff like that?
I think where I'm at right now is just getting back inspired. Me
Mm,
being on your show, your podcast tonight has definitely sparked a flame and inspired me to get back to the things that I was doing, as far as empowerment and how important it is to create that safe place for people. And that's something that I spent along with your cousin Jewel doing for so many years. And
mhm,
um, I think you've motivated me to get back to it and just learning from you the different platforms that I can
mhm,
use outside of the ones that I normally would use.
mhm,
I feel like that's huge for me right now and just helping me to gain back focus, because after your granny passed,
mhm,
um, I just been struggling with a lot of hopelessness and
mhm,
a lot of sadness. And so I know one thing that Granny loved was coming to those empowerment sessions and learning and
mhm,
growing and maturing in different areas, that we all were kind of maturing together. And
mhm,
so just bringing that awareness and that safe place, that's something that I'm very passionate about.
mhm,
Bringing a safe place where people can be themselves and open up and be honest. So I think my biggest part right now is just me getting back inspired to
Mm-hmm.
get back into the things that I was doing to be a blessing to my community and the people within my community.
Mm-hmm.
Also, while adding more tools to the tool belt of being able to empower and equip people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's definitely a balance that's definitely for sure. And everyone is also in their own journey too. Like we're all in our own journeys, whether we experience something good or bad in life or anything like that. And understanding too, like the importance of self awareness and what you can realistically do for yourself and what you know, and honoring and respecting the fact of what you don't know, but still willing to learn what you don't know in order to like better help not only yourself but the people around you and bringing them to bring more value to them, and understanding too, like it's like there is power to just give, and understanding to give within the means of what you can physically do or talently do or mentally do or anything like that too, and really understanding that importance. Yeah, it's also a long journey too. So I know, like hopefully with more people coming onto the space, and feeling more inspired and wanting to talk more, there'll be more like doers, so to speak. Because we are in this day and age now where like we just want doers. We just want doers. Like we're tired of being spoon fed. You know, uh, like commercials of like brands that are like, oh, we are woke, when it's just really like, yeah, we're just doing it for marketing purposes. We just want to be in front of your faces and have your attention, and never really doing like, oh yeah, no, we're actually about what we're saying, you know,
Mhm.
here's
Yeah,
what.
I feel like we have done enough hearing. Just
Hmm.
like, the Bible says we need to be hearers and doers of the word.
Hmm.
So we literally need to be doers now, I feel. I feel like we've done enough hearing, and I
Hmm.
feel like we know enough and we've talked enough. I feel
Hmm.
like it needs to be a lot more action.
Yeah. Definitely, definitely. So, before we sort of head out, what would you like to say to, the people out there that are going to watch this, particularly watch this, listen to this on Spotify, I believe Podcast, or some podcast, platform, and a variety of other places. Like, what is your advice for them? Um, and especially of how to better go about bringing like the change that you want to see, but also wanting to help make this, bring more awareness to this issue, but also work with people to help make the solutions possible. Um, so.
Well, I think the first thing is speaking to the survivors.
Mhm.
Just to let the survivors know they're not alone. That they have people in this world that want to come alongside them and help them to open up and to be the truest, most authentic part of themselves.
Mhm.
Um, to know that if something like this has happened to you, that it wasn't your fault, that you are loved, you are cherished, you are special, and the things that have happened to you do not define who you are as an individual. Um, and I think to speak to the people that are going to be in the more of the solution side and the more people that are going to step up to bring awareness to this, to speak to them, I would say, stand your ground. I would say, be encouraged. Um, don't lose hope because of what you see around you. Stay focused on the mission at hand,
Mhm.
and build a team. Build a team, and don't think you can do everything on your own. Make sure your team is solid, and make sure the team that you're building has the same mission at hand. It makes
Mhm.
things a lot easier when you're trying to create solutions to help your community in different aspects. And so make
Mhm.
sure the people on your team have the same mission as you, the same heart as you. So you will be able to do things, even though when things come against you guys, you will still be able to do things effortlessly because you guys are focused on the same mission at hand. And that's helping survivors to become free, to
Mhm.
become whole, to be free from their shame, so they can walk in such a freedom that it
Mhm.
unlocks the next person next to them. Because technically, as we speak, as we share, as we open up, all we're doing is turning ourselves into keys to unlock the next person. So,
Mhm.
you know, it's just about focusing. I feel like now the survivor knowing that they have support, and the person with the solution building the team to come together so we can continue to free people as we go along.
Mm. Yeah. That's my mom, everyone. That's my mom. So with that, thank you, mom, for being on this podcast, and being my second guest. This was awesome and amazing, and I love you a lot, and I appreciate you for all the things you've done to make me into a better person. And again, being on my podcast and sharing your story and being an inspiration to everyone, including myself, still to this day. Um, and with that, don't forget, guys, to like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube, where you're able to see episodes of this. And also, if you want to see the full unedited videos of this, it will be on the Patreon page of the Tell Your Story podcast. Just pay $4 a month, whether you want to or not, or share it around to people that that might would love to donate to your podcast and hope to see it do great things. You never know. But with that said, I love you guys. Love you, mom.
Love you, sweetheart. Thank you for having me on the show, honey.
Yeah, no problem. Happy that you were able to be on the show. So with that, I'm gonna end the stream. See you guys later.